Hi everyone, my name is Brian Lee, and this is my chapter review presentation for PPA 521. Basically the layout of my presentation, I go chapter by chapter and include also the homework mixed in as well. Within each chapter slide, I have a summary just to go over what was read in the chapters, and then yeah, I just added a little bit of my own things here and there. All right, so for chapter 1, an introduction to e-government, for my summary, basically what I put is that digital governments equal digital government plus digital democracy. So the delivery of public services mixed with the citizen participation in governance is really important to the idea of digital governance. For exercise 1.1, I looked at the City of Long Beach app for tracking street cleaning. I used to live in Long Beach a few months ago, and basically at one of their city council meetings, they were talking about this app that would help you track street cleaning services in order to better kind of foresee where they were on different streets. And so if they were on one street, you could park your car there and move it depending on when the street cleaning services arrived. And for exercise 1.2, it was basically the documentary on government and innovative technologies. The space race with the USSR really influenced a lot of innovative technologies, such as internet and GPS navigation. I actually attended UCLA for my undergraduate, and there we call it the birthplace of internet. And the joke was that, this was the birthplace of internet, and yet our campus internet was really bad. So yeah, that's basically for exercise 1.2, how the government really helped provide these catalysts for innovation in technology. Okay, so for chapter 2, privacy and security, in summary, e-government has allowed for more efficient, transparent, accountable, and participatory governments, meaning that with online e-government services and resources, these local governments can provide people with better services, faster services. Transparent means, they are open to all of their dealings. In the past, transparency has been a major issue for a lot of people because, for example, in the city of Bell or the city of Placentia, there's a lot of corruption that has been going on in local governments, and transparency is important to, show the people that nothing shady is going on. And participatory governments just means that, you want people to participate in everything that the government is doing, just because what they're doing is for the public. So exercise 2.1, I couldn't really get some stuff to work, so I looked at, instead of a city website, I looked at my own work website at the American Lung Association, www.lung.org. And I looked at this because I have more knowledge on the technical, operational, and managerial categories. And overall, it's private and safe for personal information. The American Lung Association deals with a lot of patients, doctors, so we have to abide by HIPAA laws, and we just have to keep all personal information really private for donors and people who provide funds to us. So with that, our website and all our work actually is just extremely private. So moving on to chapter 3, improving usability. The summary, e-governance is becoming more important as world becomes more modern and internet users increase. We've seen this, just in the world. A lot of people have access to internet nowadays. It's just becoming a smaller and smaller world, basically, online. The usability for public use is extremely important. People need to use these websites, and it needs to be easy for them to use. Otherwise, maybe older generations of folks won't be, or people who are just not technologically advanced won't be able to use them. The chapter mentions Moon's stages of e-government, and here are the steps: the simple information dissemination, two-way communication, service and financial transaction, vertical and horizontal integration, and political participation. So providing that information and resources to the community and having the community respond back to you in a certain way, what you provide to them should be reciprocated in having them use those services, or having them appreciate the use of the services, as long as it's there for them to use. In exercise 3.2, I looked at the City of Los Angeles's website and its usability. Particularly, Los Angeles is a large city, one of the largest in the nation. And so to me, personally, it had low usability due to the clutter of the different departments and information in them. So if you look at smaller city websites, you can really easily navigate to certain resources or services that you need to use. For the City of Los Angeles, business licenses are kind of difficult because they're categorized in different ways, or services are in different departments, so it's really hard to navigate. And the City of Los Angeles is extremely large, and so that's why they have these different departments for different things. To me, it wasn't the best. It was just a little cluttered for their information, and it was hard to move about. So in Chapter 4, Content for an Informed Citizen, strong content creates better relationships and more access with the public. Basically, this means that, when you have good content on your website or with e-government, it has a better effect on the public. They, respond more. They access the website more, or the resources more that you provide them. Informed citizens and transparent government are extremely important, and it's really emphasized in this chapter. Open governments that provide the information to the citizens allow this two-way communication, that's been repeated throughout the book, is the two-way information between the citizens and the government, and having both is really important. So providing public documents, it's a move to more transparency. If you look on a lot of city websites, they'll provide you with financial information, or they'll provide you with their budgets and things of that nature, things that are really important to look at if you're trying to see how they're spending money and if they're spending money in a responsible way. Contact information from the public is also provided to give better communication between the government and the people. When you provide your own contact information, you're providing a more, in my opinion, a more unique experience to using that website, because each user is going to each user is going to each city's website and looking for different resources or looking for different information. So providing your contact information is, I'd say a necessity, and to what level you provide is also important too. I think the bare minimum is your name and email address, but some provide even more than that too. In Chapter 5, Digital Governance Services, online services provide lower costs and allow operations to continue more efficiently. We can see that this is very true. Online services, in any case, provide more efficient and faster services to be delivered. If we take any kind of online shopping or any online service that is provided, it's quick, it's fast, and definitely sometimes even lower cost than just going out to do this service or to buy something. The challenges is providing all citizens equal benefits of e-services. So this plays into a later topic, but the digital divide is the inequalities between different people or different nations on their access to technology. And so providing all citizens within, let's say, a city the equal benefit of the e-services can be difficult because some may not have access to the e-services and some, may not know about the e-services. So it's important for the government themselves to really educate the public on them as well. One concern, or multiple concerns, include online security, again, the digital divide and inequality, and community disenfranchisement. So the last one, the disenfranchisement, is basically when services start to move to online and only online. You don't want to have people who, do everything that not online become disenfranchised, that now they can't, have access to these different things that were previously accessed in person. And so maybe that switch causes some disenfranchisement with certain people. Those with access to and knowledge of technology versus those who did not. So that was kind of my summation of chapter 5, is this idea of those who do and do not have access to these technologies. And it plays again into the digital divide. But, there are people who nowadays don't have access to a phone or don't have access to internet. And those are really big issues with e-government services. All right, so for chapter 6, citizen participation, Seoul was the top-ranked municipality for citizen participation. Effective e-governance needs two-way communication and citizen participation. M-government through mobile devices for more participation. There's also another chapter dedicated to primarily M-government, so I'll kind of skip over that for now. And then governments must modernize web technologies. So this chapter focuses, like it says, citizen participation, and that's kind of, easy to define. The more people that participate, the more information and resources go out and services that go out that the government is providing. And you want to engage your citizens as well too. Effective e-governance versus just e-governance. The effective part is, getting those people to participate in what you're providing them on your websites, on your social media, things of that nature. So one of the homeworks was an essay on Edward Snowden, and in one of Professor Phil's lectures, or one of his other classes, there was actually a video shown about Edward Snowden, and basically he was labeled the American whistleblower, and he leaked classified information from the NSA, the National Security Agency. And the argument is whether or not he was a hero versus a traitor. So in my opinion, he displays characteristics of both, and it's all about where you align your thoughts and your views on this kind of thing. To be a hero, you have to make great sacrifice, and the case for Edward Snowden is that he made a great sacrifice by sacrificing his, life, quote unquote life, because, it's not the same anymore. He has to live in another country. He's labeled a traitor to the US to provide this information that the NSA was, gathering all this information and data on people. And in the other sense, the US labeled him as a traitor because, he really did leak information that was important. And, if he was trying to go for a more detrimental or nefarious, way about it, he could have released even more information. So in some sense, he displays characteristics of both. I say he leans more towards being a hero, just because he didn't leak information that could put people at risk. He just leaked the information to kind of be more transparent to the people. And that's what governments should be doing, right, from the book. So in chapter 7, social media management and local government, social media growth and using e-government has been growing just because, social media in general has been growing. You see all the apps nowadays, and people just, using it on a day-to-day basis. The benefits are providing community information, promoting engagement and participation, trust and transparency, city branding and promotion, emergency planning and response. In continuation, the challenges on the opposing side are obviously the digital divide. Satisfaction levels can be improved, underperforming in interactive communication and citizen engagement, and internal barriers. That means internal barriers from the government's position. So what they're stopping. And the homework assignment for this was basically looking at the city of Seal Beach Police Department's social media. I wrote upon how they were really engaging and they're really a trustworthy source for the community. Just scrolling through the comments and all the posts, you could see that people were really saying that the social media, I mostly looked at the Facebook posts were informative to them. They were both light and serious tones mixed, so that was good. There was a place for everything. What I found though was that the primary engagers were mostly middle-aged white women. There wasn't much variance from that. You could tell the commentators and all the engagers and all the people who were liking those posts were middle-aged white women, which isn't a bad thing, but I think for e-governance to work, you want to engage as many people as possible. Otherwise, your information that you put out may start to get one-sided or skewed. So Chapter 8, M-Government, this is what I mentioned before, the mobile types of information and communication tech. The benefits, 24/7 government, streamlined administration and service delivery, addressing the digital divide. Tech of the M-Government includes the internet, mobile phones, tablets, laptops, geospatial data, apps, and biometric info. There's two theories for this chapter: individuation theory, which says that users become more independent through mobile tech usage, and then the cultural theory saying that mobile tech changes daily life and culture from widespread use. This basically is kind of two different areas of thoughts on how mobile tech affects either the individual or society as a whole. In Chapter 9, it was discussing big data and open government. Big data is basically a large collection of information that can be difficult to process. Open government is the transparency, the public participation and collaboration. Risks of big data and open government combined include privacy rights, there's cyber attacks and use of information in harmful ways. Extraneous information can sometimes distort the data as well. So the picture on the left is a book that I recently read actually on big data. It's called Everybody Lies, and it's a data analysis who goes into different types of data and looks at how you can skew data in certain ways and how data is basically everywhere. Anything that you do is recorded, and it forms this kind of persona of you online and in this digital realm. And so it's pretty interesting, and I wanted to include that just because it was relevant to the chapter. Chapter 10 talks about the digital divide. We've touched upon it previously in the presentation, but again, it's the inequalities between nations and people for access to modern technologies, mainly internet and web technologies such as that. The global divide is between members and non-members of Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. E-government should be easily accessed and easy to use by the public to limit the digital divide. So if people are having difficulties with using e-government, they're less likely to gain the resources and gain the services provided on websites and social media provided by government. In the digital divide essay, we were asked what the turning point was, and I said in 2008. this was when, there was a global recession, President Obama was elected, and China and Amazon really started to grow. So these are important to mention just because, with the information when President Obama was elected, it started to become more biased on party lines. And with China and Amazon growing, there you had an increase of users of online sources. China's extremely large, and Amazon growing allowed their web services to grow as well too. So in Chapter 11, the functionality and future of e-government, the questions I answered were, can they enter opinions and queries anonymously? Is the site easy to use? And is the site updated daily, weekly, or monthly? Yes, the Yorba Linda website, you could enter it anonymously, but they'd prefer you to have some personal information. The site was easy to use, easy to navigate, and the website updated constantly. I saw there were months of recorded activities, and it went back 5 years, so you can check what went on in the past as well. In conclusion, the implementation of concepts and best practices. I work as advocacy manager at the American Lung Association, so a lot of this will come into play, and actually does come into play in my job currently. Social media of local city governments is important to follow because they provide updates on what they're doing, what's important activities are happening, and important updates as well. I've participated in webcasts and e-participation of city council meetings. So I've spoken out at a few city council meetings in favor of certain policies. And those webcasts are actually recorded in certain cities. And so I can go back and look and actually see, what I've said, what others have said, and just analyze all of that information. Local governments also provide their online calendars for important events and meetings in the cities. That's been useful for me in the past when one of our activities for our grants that we work on is to go out to these community events. So it's good to look at those every now and then. And so on my personal work side, the project, social media, and website that we have for our grants should be tailored to the community to provide engaging interactions and access to resources. So, using these concepts and best practices, I can go back and see, where our social media and website is lacking for our grant projects, and then build from there how to engage the community better.